let's just start with the mental aspect. So it's always demotivating to look at when we're down, and it's always good to look at when we're up. Last act before we started coaching, we ended Diamond 2, 58% win rate, and we were killing it. All the win rates were good. We were vibing on Fracture, Abyss, like we were just farming people. Lotus was good as well. If we're looking at these 3 maps specifically, these 3 maps are actually what accounted for the majority of our win rate. Actually, all the rest of the 4 maps, our win rates were negative. So that's something to consider. Abyss is gone. We go into this act and Fracture flipped. Abyss isn't in here, and then all the other maps are pretty much the same. So that's one way to look at it. You can always look at it in that perspective. If 3 maps are contributing to the majority of our win rates, maybe a bit of the results are skewed here. 2 things that changed from last act to this act is map pool changes and new agent. But the new agent, I would imagine Waylay is not really impacting our gameplay too much. So my guess is a mixture of mental added pressure, right? The series is a big thing. You have an audience looking at you now. That there's also self-induced pressure, and obviously there's expectations, right? We have this goal of hitting Immortal, and it's slowly slipping and slipping away. Map changes. Obviously, we kind of just took a look at that. We're doing well in the first 3 maps of last act. Abyss has been removed, so one of our best maps was removed. And then Fracture and Lotus, we aren't getting that same level of success going into this act compared to before. So that is something to consider as well. And it could just be a culmination of factors, really, right? A lot of these factors could do nothing, and they can do a lot. But I guess from my point of view, it's all pretty normal. Where does this really take us? Like, why am I bringing all this up? Well, I think number one, we kind of just need to lower the stakes. You know, obviously the goal of the series is to get you to Immortal. We have time to do that, right? I'm not in any rush. Hopefully you're not in any rush. The point being is like ranking up and improving is always going to be a long-term process. This is probably my mistake here in the sense that I set a ranked goal for the sake of the series. But for player development, like I don't actually care about the rank. Like the rank will come, improvement comes first, but it's not linear. Sometimes you're going to be stuck and you won't see any improvement until fucking everything all clicks, right? So something that I wanted to kind of maybe touch on a little bit more, just out of curiosity, those 3 maps previously, what do you think Fracture, Abyss, and Lotus had in common with your playstyle compared to the other maps in the pool?
Well, especially Abyss, that was one of the few maps where I felt like I would have the most impact on attack rather than on defense. I found the duels on attack to be very favorable for me, and you know, just be like hit B simulator, and all of these fights are very, very comfortable for me. Fracture was like more this kind of the same, but on the defense side, I felt that any lane that I was in, I would be able to take some kind of favorable fight. And then Lotus macro wise is just very straightforward in my opinion, but like, I mean, you can see the difference in attack on Abyss is very, very large. I can't really define why that is, other than like it just feels easy to take these fights.
One thing that I recall about Abyss specifically is it's difficult for defenders to aggress space. So it's pretty much one of those maps where you can just hit bomb site, hit bomb site, hit bomb site, and it's just site execute, rinse and repeat. Because like B, like they can't really contest early space that well, especially if you drone. And same for A, like the A main fight isn't as good as the Ascent one. So I wonder if this map being more execute heavy and less neutral space heavy plays into the strength a little bit. It reminds me of Haven specifically. You can kind of just slam C over and over, but when you go A, there's like that little, you can't really just slam short and long because you have to take that map control first. I wonder if that's playing a part into it, just the ease of actually hitting the bomb site instead of having to worry about coordinating with the teammates to get neutral space. So the exec on Abyss feels a lot more straightforward. All the fights are kind of in front of you, kind of, whereas Ascent, you're kind of going out main, you have to look left straight, and then if you're going out B, it's kind of, you know, left straight as well. So it's not as in line. That does kind of explain a bit of the chaos, because even though there are, I guess, similar amount of positions, it's not in the same angles, and defenders have a pretty good chance of like timing you. I think turtling on Ascent is a lot stronger than Abyss. Yeah, a lot of yapping. Let's take a look at the VOD. I think that there's a lot of ways you can go with Initiator. If I started working with you when you were an Immortal player already and you had like the gun duels down, one argument you can make is just leaning on your strength, which is calming, and util usage and really lean on that playstyle.
Yeah, I think I've been punished historically because I'm like, oh, my guy's got A. There's 3 guys there, and then I play A retake 12 rounds in a row.
yeah. That is a common trend that I found too when I played Initiator. So we'll see if we can break out of that mold a little bit if we need to. Let's take a look at the game though. Okay, so looks like we are doing a little B contact. Cypher's AFK report.
Start your stairs when you're ready to
go. Immediately, my first thought here is notice our bias to dart for the exec rather than actually walk up with the jet here. You're gonna lose tempo here, I think. So the alternative, just to kind of visualize it, we walk up with the jet. We are now here, also peeking into sight, and then we get smoked. Now you'll pull out dart and then just dart something. And then now, let's say you rip your dart, yawn like here, and then we go out. Revealing area. You're immediately with the jet. So I think spacing, this is one thing that could be impacting it. But the question for you is to explore this thought process a little bit more. Why do you think that you are backing up to line up the dart rather than going forward and potentially taking the duel?
Probably just because I want to throw the best dart I can rather than like potentially take a dry fight, I suppose.
That makes sense. And when you say the best dart you can throw, that's the assumption that this tree dart here is the best dart for the B exec. Is that right?
At this moment on pistol, yeah.
Okay. In your opinion, looking at it now, if you were to throw, say, this dart, and let's just rate it like a 5 out of 10, like not a great dart, just average, but our spacing now becomes like a 9 out of 10. Let's say that gives us a score of 14, just adding the 2 numbers. And then you then rate this dart, I don't know, would you say this would be like an 8 out of 10 dart or like a 9 out of 10 dart?
Yeah, sure, something like 8.
Okay, and then how would you rate your spacing here?
I mean, I'm not going to be able to help anybody, so I guess... I mean, I'll be there in a little bit. I don't know, like a 3?
Okay, so like let's kind of compare. So that's 11 versus 14. It's not that much of a difference, but the problem is these scores aren't weighted, right? So I would weight spacing, trading, and being in the gun duel in terms of scoring like a lot higher. Like it's worth 2 or 3 more times than timing on a dart or location of a dart.
No, I agree.
And that's kind of where recon initiators struggle, myself included. Like I said, I keep bringing up my experience because when I played recon initiator, I really had to rewrite a lot of the misconceptions I had about recon because it's very easy to play util bot, you know? So more gun duels, closer spacing, pew pew pew, put more weight on spacing, I think. And hopefully we'll see how that impacts this game here and how little gun duels we might have. So we dart here.
Coming stairs.
We dash out. See, we kind of run out here. So doesn't actually impact this round. Reyna gets 2. What I want you to notice is how we actually don't end up getting any fights. Our Reyna gets 2. That's whatever. But we aren't actually involved in the Omen fight here. So that's just partly routing. It's also partly spacing. So when we come out here, we immediately go left. I think that is fine here. But the question for you is, what are your other options, right? So you could go straight out left. That's what we did here. But what are your other options?
Scale towards like the stairs, like go against the right side of the wall, go logs even.
Okay, so something like this.
See if you get that angle.
So you're saying scaling towards stairs. How would you do that? Would you go like directly out? Would you go along this wall and then come back out? Would you go towards switch?
My jet's already dash switch, so I would probably be much closer to like hugging that right wall. Yeah, maybe I get like a favorable angle on the stairs guy.
Oh.
And I'm not exposed to somebody who runs out of the smoke potentially.
From market?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you did mention you can go logs. I guess these are both kind of combined. Okay. Looking back at it, what do you think about this routing versus this routing? Like when would you go this way to help fight stairs and potentially play for the market and spawn flood compared to going lane and prioritizing taking site control?
I'm so used to having the bomb that I pretty much always go lane. I actually didn't even realize I didn't have the bomb on this round, so I autopilot went lane. I think it would depend on like if I have spike or not.
Which routing gives you more fights?
Oh, the right side routing for sure.
Okay. Which routing would be better against a 1 bomb site player hold? Let's just say there's just 1 player on B versus like one player on B and then maybe one spawn or one market, and then versus like a 2-player hold on B, let's say 1 stairs and 1 ledge. Which routing would be better?
Okay, if there's one player on the bomb site and like maybe they are stairs, like I think going left is better because we're gonna crunch that guy. I assume there's gonna be more like I probably have 2 duelists. They probably are both going to be going out towards stairs or towards like giraffe or market. So that guy stairs will get crunched. If it's a 2-person hold and there's like, I don't know, a backside guy or a stairs guy and like a CT guy, I think it's better to go right in that scenario. Just so we have the fights are closer together, I suppose. And where my teammates will be fighting, I will also be fighting in that general area. And there's more opportunity to fight together, to trade, etc.
I'm gonna offer like an alternative point of view just to get your thoughts on it. It doesn't have to be right or wrong. Let's say there's a 1-player site hold and there's a player stairs. My argument here could be if you scale right side, you're in a better position to deal with the player running out of the market smoke or the spawn smoke. And this player is alone. So it could be the priority when there's 1 player on site to contest the flood rather than the site anchor, because these players are going to try to support this guy and this guy is stranded. Whereas if there's 2 players on site, let's just say ledge and stairs, it might make more sense to route towards site instead of for these smokes because the second B player is already on site. So by putting more attention on these guys, if you can kill them quicker rather than later, you can not have to worry about the A rotate as quickly.
No, yeah, that does make sense.
There's a lot of nuance to it as well, for sure. But, you know, trying to expand our, I guess, options here and understanding why you route somewhere is step 1 to playing a more active playstyle, maybe like a more intentional active playstyle. The other thing to consider too is comp. If I look at their comp here, their site hold, if it's deadlock, I might have to take more pressure, like more time to play for taking site because his util's really good. But their comp doesn't really look like a very let me play on site type of comp. Like I'm really worried about the Sova, Jet, and Reyna flood. So my read on the execute could just be to try to counter the Reyna and the Jet. So yeah, I don't know, something to think about as well. Yeah, let's keep going. I haven't even seen the round yet. Oh yeah, these guys just got the kills. Then we're on backside position. So it's 5v2. You don't have to stress the position too much. Okay, so my initial thought is Urena is pushed up. Maybe we could position pushed up. So the question for you is, where would you play if you wanted to play pushed up because you had a player playing aggressive?
Like in this exact scenario or just in general?
Both are good. I think their answers are the same to me.
Probably like the other side of the CT smoke. If my Jet's gonna stand stairs, I could be on the other side of this, like
here,
up there maybe, or I could be giraffe, or I could just double up with my Reyna. All are options.
I think that's good. I'll add a couple more. So we have this. We have logs. We have close lane, so you can swing off of market. Technically, he's in market, so you could use this lane position to swing off spawn. And then you can also just maybe get closer to this box to fight with the Jet. You could even just stand on top of this little staircase here to hold the spawn smoke because it's smoke and they don't have flash. We could also just sit next to our Jet. So you have other options instead of just defaulting the back site. Something to consider. I think B site ascent has 2 different ways to play it. You either play on site, like kind of like you're doing back site, or you're playing in forward positions. To kind of expand on this a little bit more. You have player here, player here, player here. That's kind of like your triangle. Boom, 1, 2, 3. Or you play the other way. You play like turtled. So you might have a player here, player backside, and then like a player here, I guess. Maybe here. Whatever, like we're turtled. So recognizing that as soon as the bomb is down, pretty important. Doesn't matter for this round because your Reyna kills 4, but we do have to kind of point this stuff out. So, okay. So mid dart here.
Mid towards market.
I do like mid dart.
Woman's left side mid stuck.
The guy doesn't die. Okay. That's a good dart. Couple of questions. One is, when you go mid, do you tend to have a pattern of you being top mid versus tiles?
I've been both, but typically like if we're not intending to like end market, I feel like I'm typically top mid.
Okay. I should have asked this question for the last A main round, so we'll revisit that. Between tiles and top mid, which position do you think gives you more fights?
Tiles, definitely tiles. depending on like if we were smoking mid or if we're smoking cat. But I would be closer to the fights if I started tiles, assuming we're walking up mid.
Okay. Going back to that A main round really quickly. When you're doing like you're holding dart off rip versus I guess just dry swinging A main or darting off rip for the close A main fight, kind of obvious, but just ask for repetitive sake, which gives you more fights.
Obviously, the swinging with into A main.
Okay. Or early darting, just because I guess spacing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Potentially, we're establishing a trend here. What I kind of want you to notice here is the fact that we've darted and got the scan. Uranus just out face tanking all of these angles, and he ends up killing like a million people. But you can see there's two fights here: Reyna killing this guy, and then the Jet killing Brimstone. Like the two angles there. We don't actually have any of those angles here. The only angle you might have if you go top mid is this left side fight and this market fight, which to be fair, those angles do happen. But you kind of mentioned earlier, maybe tiles gives you more fights. So, and then we got smoked off, so we lost that fight that we wanted. Okay, so let's see how this round plays out. Our Jet's out. Hey, what the fuck? Okay, so we're gonna cat here. Okay, we have sight, plan, and we kind of just win. Okay. Hopefully you're learning something from the one-on-one coaching. I've been doing this style of coaching for the past 3 years, and I'm always looking for new ways to improve. This year, I'm focused on building out my community, the dojo. This is where I take what I've learned from one-on-one coaching and applying it for the community. There are lectures, pro reviews, VOD reviews, and players looking to improve. If you're someone who wants to take Valorant more seriously, we'd love to have you. Details in the description. I want you to notice how Reyna's rounds, he got 4K on pistol, and then ace on this round, and both of them were in mid. And I think that's due to the fact that typically when you go mid, you have a lot of fights. The mission, just from looking at these 4 rounds so far, is to play in a way that gives us more fights positionally. Like we have to be positionally in a spot to even get more fights in. Like it's not enough to have like the mindset to go for it, because if our positioning doesn't change, you don't have more opportunity. We need to be in the spots that give us more opportunity. So for Ascent in particular, if you're doing a mid default, fuck top mid, go tiles. If you're doing an A rush, fuck the lineups, just like peek A main, dry with your teammates, or early dart so you can be closer. If you're going B, literally throw your dart off rip so you can scale with your teammates, or just swing out insta. So I was saying, if round starts, you want to be with your team. Round start, dart, and then shock dart with the team, break the trip, and then now you're here. You're probably right behind your Jet.
Yep.
Or swing B main with your homie, maybe you shock, maybe the smoke comes up and then you dart and then you're with your homie. I think that is going to be the biggest lever in terms of actually making the transition from previous playstyle to new playstyle, is spacing. Like getting off barrier and like positionally being in different spots. And routing maybe in different spots. Like if we go B, fuck it, go this way. Or if you're going A, maybe try this way. It's hard to say, but we kind of in a way need to do the opposite of what we're doing, which technically isn't opposite, but you can kind of see where I'm going with that.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, so let's keep going here. I do apologize if it is very repetitive, but that's typically how the patterns kind of come about. This is how this is how I look at VODs. I'm kind of just like looking for patterns. So this tempo is a bit better for the main reason that I think that our dart is a bit earlier and we didn't get contested on the neutral space here. So theoretically, if we just early darted and didn't grab the orb, we'd probably be right next to our Jet right now, and you'd be taking the same fights, which I'm okay with grabbing the orb, by the way.
Those could be dice.
But yeah, look at us. We're in the fight. This is what I would say an ideal thing, like ideal spacing. As soon as our Jet is dashed out, we're here with the Reyna. Obviously, we don't get smoked off, so it's really nice. But this is pretty good spacing here. And since we don't have spike, we're not forced to go out here.
Blind.
Oh, they actually scale off the flash well.
Whoa, 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 there's a guy in bricks.
Wow. Okay.
That guy's just there.
Yeah. Okay, so the quick question would be, when should you scale out of main versus staying in main?
I like staying in main when I'm not smoked off, obviously, so I can just make sure that we don't get flooded from heaven. But if I got smoked off here, I would have been out 100% of the time.
Yeah, okay. Easy enough. I think that makes sense. Okay, so we do get the kill on Deadlock and then end up coming out of main. What was the decision making here?
Somebody, like, the Brimstone needs to, like, get the bomb down and nobody's gonna have his tree if I don't come out, basically. And also just, I don't need to be in main anymore. My Jet's also getting very close to Rafter at this point.
Okay.
And she might even jump up, so I just feel like this is better position. And I also like to reposition after a kill. So
Okay, that makes sense to me.
Yep.
Basically, if I were to put that in different words, we killed the Heaven Flood. So now Heaven's not as much of a threat. The next threat is Door. Whereas maybe before that, the Heaven threat is still active. So a question then would be, if we aren't smoked off A main, but Heaven is mollied, do we come out or do we still stay?
If Heaven is mollied, I'd probably come out.
Okay, so it's less of a factor that we're not smoked off main, but more so the fact that Heaven threat is...
Yeah, threat.
Okay.
Which one's coming first? Yes.
Yes, okay. Makes sense. I skipped forward a bit too far. We just ran out of bullets.
I had one bullet. Yeah.
Bop. Okay. All good. All good, all good.
Is above the flag post or
So ult dart, okay.
left or right? Yeah. Right. No attack side. I'm just gonna send this towards tree in Heaven. One close.
I like to play. I always like insta darts and stuff like that. Yeah, I like to play. I guess, what's your thought process on why you did the play, just out of curiosity?
I had ult up, but I just wanted to use it more or less because I will get another one. So this was the first round I had it available, so I just felt like I might as well try to use it for the hit. And it's very easy for my guys, you know, scale with a Sova ult, and that's gonna scan everything on site basically. So it's just it's an available thing, and I don't feel like I need it for post ever. So
Gotcha. Okay, makes sense to me.
One mid.
After the ult and the kill, I see we're immediately positioning to go towards the site. What do you think about going for a mid wrap here?
Yeah, that's certainly an option. I would be completely comfortable doing that.
Is it part of your default playstyle?
It's very specific to when I would do that, I think. I don't think I would do it normally.
Okay, can you give me a scenario when you would do it?
Probably if like I was the last person in main and my Cypher isn't behind me, I might be like, oh, I should probably go contest mid and like walk up cat, or I don't know. I don't know what like a thing, I don't know what an indicator for me would be here to do it, other than just like I should probably try to do it more.
Okay. In terms of spacing, like as soon as we finish the ult,
Nice.
which route, going back to that other question, which routing would give you more fights here?
Oh, going mid 100% for the rotators.
Okay. So maybe the pattern is our positioning after the first kill. So in this case, the first kill, we're so far away, maybe going mid is better. And then maybe if you were, say, like right next to the Reyna here, it doesn't really make that much sense to go back to mid because it's so far. So that is a fairly common pattern that I see after the ult. So let's just go for the mid lurk.
I saw silver mid.
Got any in plain sight?
Yeah, thankfully, sight is clear. Looks like your Cypher killed the Omen ult. But yeah, we're kind of just going back to the same routing here, holding the Brim smoke because Jet's in Heaven. It's like...
Yep.
One tree.
100.
So a question, I guess, would be, when should we leave this angle? As soon as the bomb is planted? As soon as the smoke is faded? What do you think?
I like staying here if like I'm going to get the like the fight that I'm about, like that the Sova gives me. Like I'm happy to take that fight here. Yeah, after I got spotted and the smoke went down, I was like, I might as well just move, reposition, and go Artis. But like if people were gonna flood out Heaven, I like staying here to take, you know, that fight off of contact or stuff like that.
Okay. The 2 rounds we've positioned here so far is when your Jet has taken Heaven control. Let's just say theoretically your Jet hasn't taken Heaven control, and there's a possibility of them flooding out Heaven and tree at the same time, and the door smoke fades. Is that a position that you're okay with being in this spot, even if that's a pinch possibility?
I mean, I would be okay with it because the fight is still more or less isolated on the tree fight, but I would rather be somewhere else at that point.
Okay, so it sounds like this wood box here is really beneficial when you have full Heaven control versus if someone doesn't have it. So that might be a consideration to keep in mind. I tend to just avoid the spot if I don't have Heaven control, so that's kind of why I'm asking, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, we should just win this though, off of the initial kills here. You said you go Artis. This spot's broken. It's my favorite post plant spot.
Yeah, right. On smoke.
Very strong.
Nice.
And we win. Go team, go. I've never seen this start before. That's the one you're talking about. Okay, that's nice. Better than one I throw. Okay, so we're holding heaven, same thing, no smoke. Jets in heaven, so now we immediately pivot to go door. I can see the pattern now. And we're back to this spot. Okay. When does it make sense for you to also go and push heaven? Ever? Does it make sense ever?
Oh yeah, there's plenty of times where I will do that. Like typically, if I'm planting bomb, I'll plant bomb. I'll route to under rafter. I might drone it. Maybe look for like a spam kill or something. Then I'll jump up on top box and like I'll chill there and wait for contact. And there are times that like I get more aggressive, but those are rarer.
Okay. Okay, that's valid. Yeah, here's this little droney drone. Oh wow, this guy presents the trip. Nice kill. One heaven, one tree. We'll get into the 2v2 in a second. I just want to see the shots for now. Yeah. Okay, good kills. Are you aware of the enemy positions in this position? So you call the deadlock heaven. In the moment, as soon as you kill this guy, did you register their split? Like one tree, one heaven?
Yeah, I knew there was one tree, and I was like, do I have time to dart for this guy when he walks out? And then I decided probably not.
Okay. How can we position in a way that is more active in this 2v2?
I mean, I could go towards the boxes on the left side, right before rafter, but I'm worried about just getting shot from rafter if the timing doesn't like quite line up. I don't really want to walk towards my brimstone because I'm going to be on top of him, and there's not exactly like a lot of room to work there. I mean, I probably should just walk dice and look heaven. That might be the most active. I'm not sure.
Okay. I think that's probably the most active play. Typically the pattern, if you know that there's two players split, is for you to hunt a fight on one of them before the pinch happens. In this case, it's not really that streamlined because sure, you could walk out dice and take that fight into tree before heaven player comes. It does mean that you're taking a fight before your brimstone, which maybe isn't ideal. Like let's say you take this line first, now your brim can't trade you, and then now he's in a 1v2. So I guess what I kind of see here is if I'm able to get a heaven dart, let's say like I kind of work my way out here and I get to here. If I can dart heaven, then this might be an opportunity for me to push this guy off. And then basically if this guy swings early, I can now swing off of him. So instead of like hoping that this guy swings and I get the kill and that this guy heaven doesn't come out and kill my brimstone before this guy tree comes out, because I think the timing worked out well enough that the omen went first before the deadlock went, so your brimstone didn't end up dying to this player. But it would have sucked, for example, if this guy died before the omen comes out and you aren't able to get this kill and the deadlock kills him, and then now there's this player and this player.
Right, yeah. I there's definitely a dart I could throw for heaven. I'm just worried about like how much time it's gonna potentially take.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's a weird spot. It's a weird spot to play, but going back to the active mindset, maybe if we were leaning on that a little bit, we would try to walk out. It's actually not a bad way to play the 2v2 here. It's just more so looking for potentially other options.
Yeah, of course.
Let's talk about some of the takeaways for attack. So let's take it from your point of view first. What were some takeaways that you got? Maybe you could reiterate in your own words and I'll write them down.
Positioning more actively for the fights that are going to occur, rather than positioning myself for good util that will enable those fights.
Okay.
And putting it all on, my guys to win the fight.
If you were to shorten this statement or idea into 2 words, how would you word that?
I mean, activity is the central theme here. I don't want to say proactivity because I feel like util is proactive. I guess it could just be active positioning, but it's more so looking towards the fights.
Okay.
2 words.
I'll give you 1 word that I think would work well here. So I think to me the common thread for this is spacing.
I know that the spacing should be what we were talking about earlier. I acknowledge that like there is better spacing opportunities. So just putting it simply as that, I understand what that means.
Okay. I guess the phrasing I would use here to try to encapsulate this is like aggressive spacing or something along those lines. So we'll just put like aggressive spacing here. Any other takeaways that you got from the attack half?
Active contestment of neutral space.
Okay, can you clarify that for me or elaborate? I guess expand.
I should, in general, I mean, like, comps aside, but like in general, I should more actively contest util space, probably with gun.
Okay. I guess why would we actively contest neutral space more compared to what we're doing? Like, what's the reasoning for the shift?
It's just too high variance on like I don't have control over those aspects of the round if I'm not.
Um, and in particular, this relates to winning or losing the initial fight.
Yeah, more or less.
Okay, I think that makes sense. Any other takeaways that you got?
I think positioning and the contestment of neutral space were the biggest things we noticed, right?
Yeah,
I don't think I'm forgetting anything.
I would say so. I think it all came down to like an overall theme was playing in a way that gives us more fights. So I think that's fine. Maybe I'll put that as a note here. Anything you want to add to that or amend?
No, I think I'm happy with that.
Oh, good. Take a look at defense. Looks like we're gonna opt for the lane playstyle. Okay. Is this more so of a pistol thing?
I'm here very, very commonly on pistol, and if I don't know what like the enemy team is likely to do.
Oh, makes sense. Going back to last week here. Theme for this week is to go to the extremes, so fast rotate. Most rounds / every round of defense could be map specific, such as Haven Ascent, Split, Pearl question mark Lotus. Could be attempting to fight space on maps like Icebox Fracture. So based on this note here, we could be biasing towards fast rotate on spawn, like somewhere like in these 3 spots, somewhat.
Yeah, and I tried this across a few different games, and that felt also very, very like high variance on like how strong our B hold was gonna be. And then I found that like we got lurked on more this way somehow. Like we would just like they just walk up B and people would not be ready for it. It was very strange. I think it was probably just like a negative feedback loop of like this is weird things are happening when I'm not here.
Right.
So I because like I really like being able to like play towards market or play towards spawn and being the fast rotator and like I'm there for the flood B like with dart and everything. And I think there are a few rounds where I do that in this game where it felt more appropriate. But when I was doing the extremity thing, it felt very awkward sometimes.
Gotcha. So there's this quote, like there's no solutions, only trade-offs. So the trade-off here that we're making by playing fast rotate is the fact that our B main hold is worse. Our info gathering on B main is worse. And the trade-off that we're gaining for it is the fast rotate, the floods are going to be better. We are potentially going to be a part of the A hold rather than having to play A retake every single round. So the question that you have to ask yourself then is what types of games should I be playing fast rotate? And what types of games should I be playing to contest B main / get that info? Maybe it could be what type of comps should I be playing that fast rotate playstyle versus. It could also be what types of team comps on my end should I be playing fast rotate versus playing on site. There's a lot of questions to ask there, but let's maybe just tackle them one by one. So do you, that game you were mentioning where it felt very strange, do you recall what the comps were? Or maybe we might be able to find a tracker as well. What day?
That was the 16th, the first game of the day, 12:14.
Gotcha. So judging by their comp, they don't have the Omen. We already have double duelist, which means we have the fast rotate, especially with the Euro TP. So maybe us being part of the fast rotate wasn't necessary. Maybe in games where you have double initiator, you can be more of that fast rotate because you have someone else to also get info for you. The argument that I would make here to play fast rotate though is you do have 2 anchor players, right? Cypher and Astra tend to play a hard anchor. So that might counter that point a little bit, but those are some things I'm considering for sure on when to play fast rotate versus extremity. What do you think?
No, yeah, I agree. Because there are faster rotators more or less in this scenario, and there are two agents that are hard side anchors. I was playing a lot of tree this game and a lot of like these mid areas, but yeah, what you were saying I agree with.
Okay. We definitely don't have to read too much into it, but I think it's always good to kind of get the preparation in the pregame. Okay, so we do the early shock, I guess, off of noise. Yep, so shock off of noise. Nice. This is my favorite way to play for the B hold here. This ledge angle is just really good.
Yeah.
Quick question: when should we dart, if ever?
I would have definitely darted after this if the deadlock wasn't like walking out, and I assumed my brimstone could see her.
Okay,
So I
makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. No need to really fall off here, right?
Yeah, 58 on Omen, 30 on the other two.
That's fine. Double hold smoke. Good team go. I've never seen this dart before.
Getting ahead.
B push dart. Lovely.
Could take orb. I should take orb.
Yeah, get an orb here, sure. We're already like stuck on close B main anyway, so fast rotate's a bit slow. So fully push. Okay, looks like we're positioning for this. Cool. Yeah, I think this is fine.
One enemy remaining.
Oh, I got gun around here.
It does. Two down spells.
Okay, so 2 players spotted mid. We don't hear anything B. Your Cypher did end up leaving B. Do you think that looking back at it, you would rather be switched with the Cypher or even potentially just double leave B?
I would rather be switched with the Cypher 100 times out of 100, yes.
Okay. How can we position on the pre-round to do that?
Just play towards like market or spawn
Okay.
rather than lane.
Let's make the assumption that you still want to do the shock dart. How would you do that shock dart still, and then also be in a better?
Oh, I could just bounce it from right in front of the market door. I could just bounce it through the window.
Okay, so like some shit like this, you probably know a lineup.
Yeah, yeah, it's very easy. But yeah, I can just bounce it from there.
Yeah, gotcha. So this is how I play with myself. I'm just putting my 2 cents here. I'll just do that, and then if I don't hear anything, I'm gone. I'm like immediately in market, and then I'm either droning or I'm darting. I've seen this dart from Calm, and I just fight mid like so. So that's a good adjustment we can make, and we would potentially be there for that trade. Who knows? Bit hindsighty, but you kind of get the point here.
Market. Ding dong and ding.
Our positioning does allow us to play for the site anchor though.
Oh.
It's just, you know, at some point we don't really have the util for it. So the question that I think the answer to is somewhat obvious, but I'll ask it anyways. Is it better to be part of the fight in mid and stop the hit in mid versus playing for the site hold on B site?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. Would that logic change if we didn't have Cypher trips here?
If we didn't have Cypher chips here, I would be a little bit more worried about it, but I mean, against like a 5-man flood, I wouldn't be able to. I could get one maybe. I mean, it depends on like what they let me do. Like if I can dart and they don't break, like maybe I can get multiple through the through spamming through like, you know, the switch wall. But you know, I think it's probably higher conversion rate if I'm just with everybody.
Okay.
And we play for the retake, of course.
Yeah. So that wording you use with everybody. I'm just gonna put with teammate. That seems to be a common theme from across attack and defense. So we talked about on attack was aggressive spacing, and by extension, aggressive spacing let you be closer to your duelist. In this case here, being with a teammate means giving up B site and playing with your Brimstone or your Cypher to play with the trade. So if we were to kind of like bring this to an umbrella term that kind of goes back to attack as well, that incorporates the idea, it's literally just being closer to teammates. Do you think that maybe you're essentially too comfortable playing alone, I guess?
I mean, like in a lot of scenarios, I am with teammates very frequently. I mean, like I feel like I am very commonly there for trades. Maybe it's just a scent specific that, you know, maybe it's just like all of the play lane with Odin time, but I don't know. I do find that I play this map more by myself than others.
It is very common for Silvas to play this kind of a lone play style. So whether or not it's right or wrong, I actually don't know.
So I'm just gonna fight the main flank.
Going back to the
Scanning ahead.
no solutions, only trade-offs. Okay, so it looks like we're going for the little push here again. Do you like the push? It's very invested in the extremity, like it's the opposite of fast rotate, but it does allow you to flank, which is nice.
One enemy
And we get the opening because of it. So this is a good way to play the extremity if you are going to play the extremity. If you go back to the first Haven VOD we watched, even though we weren't playing fast rotate, you were playing extremity, but you were also pushing up A and getting a lot of value on that. So this seems to be a common trend in your gameplay is if you are playing extremity, you have the plays in the decision making to push up and flank because you've intuitively understood that that's the way you should maximize your value by playing extremity. I guess that's a point to going back to what we talked about on attack, like maybe routing towards to fight the flood rather than the site anchor, because like that is that scenario where we were alone on site and we had a market player, and if we routed towards to fight the rotators on attack, that could be a similar scenario there. It's more important to kill the flood players than it is the site player in that scenario.
Yeah, 100%. Killing more people when I reveal them.
Yeah. I don't know how that dart fucking spam didn't work.
That's one.
Okay, so this is our go-to.
Definitely out on site. Definitely out on site now. 128 so.
Yeah, so we need variety on our behold, I think. Currently it's, you know, play ledge, spot him, run to backside, dart. I think that's a good way to hold it, to be fair. I think it's probably one of the better ones. But yeah, what do you think about, I guess, darting and then like playing around this angle, or darting and playing around this angle like this? Or...
Yeah, these are places I've gone before. I mean, I find like the fights backside, like if they drop, that's just free, obviously. So that's typically why I lean towards that. But these are also completely fine options. I just get like a little worried that if my guys are slow, like on the flood, then I'm just gonna get crunched like stairs and lane if I'm like not backside. But I also like these.
Gotcha. So since backside is our default, your goal to me seems like to stay alive as long as possible. We position on this line here when we fall to backside, like this line and then tuck, or this line, like we're in this corner. What do you think about playing backside but playing on this side instead?
Yeah, I like that too.
I guess, what do you think accomplishes your goal more? Or maybe the goals are different. Like maybe you're playing this spot for kills.
Yeah, I mean, like if they drop here, that is a super favorable fight, and that's typically, you know, what does happen is that the lane guys drop out here, and you know that's like a free 1 or 2. While you know, like the stairs fight, if I take it when it's occurring, is you know, more of a dry 50.
Okay. One of the things that we saw here was that you were trying to dart for this, or the spam versus the actual hold, say like darting on this wall. When is it better for you to dart here versus say for yourself here?
If I have a stairs guy or anybody CT or anybody close at all, which I figured that I would have a bit more support in this round.
Okay, so that's something that maybe we just have to recognize in the moment. Like in this case here, your market players might be able to get the kills, but you'd also would be able to play for yourself if you darted lane. So
Yeah, outside now. 128 over.
oh, they actually won the clutch. Or yeah, wow.
He should have died for that dash.
One enemy remaining.
Nice.
Okay. Any like takeaways from you for defense?
And just using util for myself more, especially, you know, in defense, it makes a lot more sense. I think that was probably the biggest thing we highlighted in this. Variety is also a thing that, you know, we've been talking about, which, you know, I find that in other VODs on this map, I have been doing this more. I just haven't gotten it down to maybe a science yet where it feels as impactful. I don't know. I played a Teo game where I was very... You know, I was much more fast rotating. I played a lot more A, and like it did very well on defense. And then there were, you know, attack problems that I felt like weren't as I wasn't getting nearly as much value. So I don't know. I still would like to move in this variety direction, of course, because I mean, we talked about in your lectures, like that 80-20 rule where, you should be fast rotate more often, and I agree with that. And that is my playstyle on a lot of maps that aren't, Ascent Haven. So, I think I should lean more towards that.
Right. Yeah. I'd be curious to see what a VOD looks like when we're doing the fast rotate, because between these the 4 VODs that we've looked at here, I haven't seen it yet.
That's true, yeah.
And also the other Haven VOD I looked at as well. So I haven't actually seen the fast rotate yet. So it could be something for us to look at next week.
100%. I will make sure that is the case.
Okay. Anything else that you want to maybe add to this, or?
I mean, I was gonna mention something about taking that aggressive space more often if I'm playing an extremity, but we want to lean away from that at the moment anyway, so maybe that's not super relevant to put into the notes at the moment.
Sure, I think that makes sense.
I think that's probably the biggest points we spoke about, unless I'm forgetting something.
Yeah, I think that is true. Maybe the only thing I remember was trying to position in a way that would be with a teammate, so like specifically on that market round where they did that mid B.
Right, of course.
That was kind of the theme as well for attack in a way. Like if we want to kind of stretch the aggressive spacing into like a more umbrella thing, is being aware of teammates and trying to play with / off of them. But I think that will kind of come by extension from playing the fast rotate for defense. So maybe
yeah, exactly.
We'll just leave that for now.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Questions, comments, concerns, just in general.
I think we've hit on a lot of good things this session. So I think I'm happy with where we're at right now. I've got some direction.
Easy peasy. Yeah, I think we'll just see how this week goes. Take it game by game, day by day, and focus more on the process rather than the rank. The rank will come. Hopefully that'll try and alleviate some pressure. I think we'll get there. We'll get there. Whether or not it takes fucking however long, we'll get there.
Yep, 100%. I mean, I think things will. This should not continue for too much longer. I hope, is my hope.
Essentially, if it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Yeah. Okay. I'll just end it on that then.
All right.
All right, man. You take care, and we'll talk again next week. And of course, if throughout the week you want to hit me up, feel free to do so.